The Murray-Darling Basin is a complex system, and sometimes when you try and manipulate nature, you get some fairly unintended consequences out of it. It's been an issue for some time, and something that all governments have struggled to deal with, particularly the New South Wales, Victorian and South Australian state governments. But the federal government has been a big player in this and will remain so in the future. It's had the chequebook out, buying back water in the past. Those water buybacks are now finished, much to the delight of people across Victoria, New South Wales, and even the Riverland in South Australia in particular. But Tony Pasin, MP for Barker, which covers the Riverland and down in the southeast of South Australia, has had a bit to say about this, and I spoke to him about the issue earlier on.
Well, Jason, I've always been a fan of farm efficiencies. One of the problems with on-farm efficiencies is effectively you reduce the pool of water that's available for irrigated horticulture, and I think that is a real problem. Our government obviously made some really strong commitments around no buybacks and ruling those out going forward. This is effectively the next stage of that process. Effectively, as a government, what we're saying is that we're not looking to reduce the pool of water that's available to farmers to irrigate their crops. What we want to do is achieve efficiencies in that off-farm environment. And so your listeners may well be asking, well, what's the off-farm environment? Well, often it's the mechanisms to get water to the farm. So open channels, other opportunities for efficiencies. Now, in South Australia, we've achieved a lot of those efficiencies, but it'd be naive to suggest there isn't further efficiencies, even in South Australia. But the real significant efficiencies, in my view, can be achieved in other states where, if you like, attitudes to water and its scarcity haven't been as mature as they've matured in South Australia. Now, the aim is to make every drop of water go as far as it can, and one of the things we want to do is avoid water being wasted in the movement of water from basin or reserve or reservoir to the farm, and that's where the focus will be.
I know buybacks have been particularly popular around the southern part of your electorate, and the fact that they are now gone, has it put you at odds with any of your constituents?
Oh, look, I'm sure there are some people that would prefer for the government to still be actively involved in purchasing water. Just like my dad loves it when big significant cattle buyers turn up to a cattle sale, having a significant deep-pocketed purchaser like the government in the water market means that those looking to sell, have significant smiles on their faces. But you've got to think about the significant long-term harm, and I think on balance and on average, people in the basin understand this. What we don't want to see is achieving our water recovery target by effectively waltzing into town with a government chequebook, writing people out cheques for their water, because effectively what happens is a concept called the Swiss cheese effect. You effectively pot out irrigation districts, so the cost of maintaining the infrastructure is more significant on the remaining producers. You don't have the economies of scale in terms of processing, packaging, etc. And effectively you see what you've seen in the Riverland over the last 10 to 15 years, and that is significant population decline. So on balance, I think whilst some people are attracted to the sugar hit of the government coming in as they did under the Rudd period, most people know on balance it was actually harmful in the long term to the interests of places like the Riverland that rely on irrigated horticulture. It's a very difficult decision, but one we've taken in the interests of those regions.